So we hope that we will see broad participation and people leaning in when they are able to reimagine how the ecosystem will look. Hi, I'm Sonia Carreno, the President of IAB Canada, and I'm very happy to be participating in this IAB Brazil initiative to bring a global perspective around COVID-19. And I can talk a little bit about the Canadian marketplace today. IAB Canada has 250 members. We represent roughly 80% of the online advertising expenditure in the country. So a couple of years ago, IAB Canada launched a program called the Thoughtful Digital Leadership Program. And what we do is look at what some of the good initiatives are in the industry. And when COVID-19 struck in Canada, it was not hard to find examples of leadership and very quick movement amongst our members. And this ranged everywhere from publishers removing their pay gates to other organizations allowing people to use their digital platforms at no charge. And also giving up media space. We felt that this was, a really amazing long list that we really wanted to share to the industry early on in this process. And I think it's been very helpful for the industry to be inspired and to see that there is opportunity here in a crisis. We have noticed, though, spending has slowed. Up to 90% of the budgets in Canada have been impacted either through pauses or cancellations. And this is predominantly because the brands, some of them have been deemed non-essential. That's one part of it, probably mostly at the beginning of this crisis. But then it quickly shifted to the brands not really having a great understanding of what exactly to say at this moment. During crisis, communication can be very tricky, and we all know that communication strategies are also quite costly. So there was a need to really understand how big this problem was going to be, how long this problem was going to be lasting, and whether or not it would make sense for a brand to actually sit down and rethink and re-engineer the communication strategy for the next few weeks. And so when we got news that the crisis would be lasting probably into the third quarter, then we started to see a little bit of a shift in focus and brands starting to pay more attention to what they would be communicating for the rest of the year. So in a way, it's positive news because we see that the inactivity has ceased, so there is some movement. Of course, some industries, some sectors are more heavily impacted. One thing that we did notice was that, contrary to popular belief, the essential services, so grocery stores and anyone who has delivery services at this moment, we have seen actually some dip in expenditure there, and that is because of the incredible amount of demand for the services. And so we're seeing that operationally, some of the organizations that are essential and that remain open are having a really hard time with their infrastructure and to be able to deliver on the demand. And so that will eventually have an impact also on their investment in the digital space. So they're trying to almost throttle some of the demand and help manage it. We do see that the majority of our members are anticipating that this will start to see some improvement in late May. But many feel that it will not become a normal situation, a normal marketplace, until well into the fourth quarter. So that is, of course, a really important thing to keep an eye on, and we're managing this through our research and trying to get a better understanding of whether sentiment is changing. The other thing that we've noticed, and this is not unlike any other market, we're sure, is an incredible uptick in exposure to news sites. And consumers at this moment are more than ever turning to trusted media and to higher quality journalism that they can rely on to get the information that they need. In the early days of this crisis, we saw an uptick of almost 50% of time spent on news sites And this was incredible. And so you could imagine that there was an incredible amount of inventory that was available to advertisers. And unfortunately, because of not only in crisis situations, but in always on strategy, many brands since 2016, since the elections and the alleged issues with false information and some of the other issues that happened during the 2016 elections in the U.S. Many advertisers have blacklisted news sites and any sort of current affairs. And to us, this has become a real issue now, because where most of the impression levels are landing in news and reliable information, we put out a statement talking about the value of aligning yourself with trusted content. And historically, there have been a lot of studies on this, but now more than ever, we felt that it was important to remind people, remind brands that if you can, if this is not about security, if this is not about a much deeper policy, now is the time to support not only the journalistic efforts that are also high risk and high cost at this moment. So nothing is free, and many have dropped their paywall, so there is no other source of income. Now is the time to support your local, your domestic media publishers. It's not often that an industry gets to reinvent itself, and this is something that we've talked about at great length. So we hope that we will see broad participation and people leaning in when they are able to reimagine how the ecosystem will look in the coming years. So we're quite busy. Canada, along with all of the other countries that have IABs, we are pushing forward. We're moving ahead. We are really working all channels. And we really and firmly believe that now is the time to put all of the things we know about leadership into practice. It's time to push forward, to execute on our many programs, and to use this time wisely and not miss the opportunity to bring the industry forward. We feel very strongly that community is everything, not only our local community, which we love very much, but also our global community, and we are all in this together. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.